Would you believe me if I told you that there's an MLB pitcher who routinely throws 105 miles an hour? Well, there is, and it's the generational Aroldis Chapman. Not a single player in baseball has ever had the ability to throw as hard as him. He's pitched over 103 miles an hour in 14 seasons, has gone over 100 in every season he played in, and to do it all has only used one pitch. Despite having 4 total pitches, he specifically made one of the greatest careers out of his signature fastball. It's got him voted into the All-Star game 8 total times. It's got him multiple World Series wins. He's made more money than any reliever in the history of the league. Nobody has ever seen a closing pitcher quite like Aroldis Chapman. But his career hasn't been perfect. He's struggled in some of baseball's biggest moments, has been kicked off playoff rosters, and has had a problem with walking batter after batter throughout his career. It's been tough from the beginning. To even get to MLB, he had to literally escape a communist dictatorship. I am not joking. Plus, pitchers who throw hard almost always get injured and are never the same. So, how did Aroldis Chapman get to where he is today? Why is he able to throw so much faster than everyone else? And no, the answer isn't that he just got lucky. To understand how we got to this point, we have to go back to the beginning when no one knew who he was or what he was capable of doing. His journey begins back in Cuba. He had never picked up a baseball until he was 15 years old in 2003. He was far older than the standard age that people start playing, which is usually a huge problem in the development of a player. But thankfully, Chapman was noticed by a Cuban scout, and this led him onto a path to playing professional baseball in his home country. He gained credible experience before successfully fleeing Cuba for Major League Baseball. He was just 21. It was a tough decision. He had to leave behind his girlfriend and his 3-day-old daughter who he hadn't met and was just born, and couldn't tell his parents that he was leaving, saying, "I just disappeared. What choice did I have left?" Interestingly enough, he knew nothing about MLB and had never once in his life actually sat down to watch it. Regardless of the lack of knowledge, he made the decision to sign a $30 million deal for 6 years with the Cincinnati Reds. Imagine knowing nothing about the city you're about to live in, nothing about the people, fans, or even how the league works. All the fans knew about him was what he said, saying this: "My best pitch is my fastball. It's probably the most difficult pitch to hit. In my case, batters have very little reaction time."
They waited standing to see Chapman come out of the bullpen.
Now, it's time to debut in MLB, and the fans are loud. He came in, pitched a strike, a swing and a miss, and then a strikeout. One batter later, he not only embarrassed Craig Counsell with that swing and a miss, but he pitched 103 miles an hour to finally get the out.
It's a great season to be a Reds fan. The team's in first in their division, and the latest buzz is about Aroldis Chapman. Last night was Chapman's debut, and his performance brought fans out of their seats.
Chapman had a successful rookie year, striking out 19 batters in 13 innings. He even broke the record for the fastest pitch in baseball history with a 105-mile-an-hour fastball to Tony Gwynn. But how was he constantly able to throw this hard? Well, before I get into that, I want to give a quick thanks to our sponsor, Moneyline.com. If you're someone who makes daily sports picks, this website is going to help you a lot. With a tight playoff race soon approaching and football starting back up, you may need help with your sports picks, and Moneyline.com is here to help you out. No, they're not a sports book, but are instead a platform offering up-to-the-minute odds that shift with each game and free daily picks from industry experts. Moneyline is different because there's yet to be a social platform quite like theirs, with the purpose to help us with our picks and for everyone to have fun. They're bringing all new excitement to sports fans across the country for the price of $0. When I watch an MLB game, I'm not just rooting for my favorite team, but I'm rooting for my picks on the Moneyline website. I'm rooting to have a better record than everyone else, including my closest friends. Hopefully you'll join me soon in the fun of making daily picks. Just head to Moneyline.com, sign up, and start making smarter picks today. Now, let's get back to why Chapman can throw so hard. He is completely an anomaly from anything we have ever seen. For instance, the average pitcher's stride is 87% of their height, whereas Chapman averages 120% at 6'4", which would give him the stride of someone who is 7'5". In addition to being incredibly long, it is also incredibly quick, just 0.8 of a second, 15% quicker than the typical pitcher. And then we have his velocity, which comes from a powerful lower half that is 20% stronger than the average big leaguer. He also, according to Sports Science, has the fastest shoulder rotation ever recorded in human motion history. A famous Harvard researcher explained that pitchers like Chapman store elastic energy in their shoulder tendons, giving them a release like a slingshot. Along with his slingshot, he's able to throw so fast due to his arm being 10% longer than the average MLB player at 33 inches. The researcher from Harvard went on to say that his shoulder torque is at the upper limit of what human ligaments can even withstand. At this point, I understand why he throws the way he does, but why is his fastball so specifically great with no other pitch of his even coming close? Well, his fastball is 10% higher than the average RPM for an MLB player, with his coming in at 2,451. Or we have his fastball-induced vertical break being 19% more than the average player, meaning it flat out defies gravity, giving him an extremely high spin rate and making it even harder for a hitter to make contact. I want you to look at this as well. Normally, an MLB player releases the ball from their hands when they are right over their front foot, whereas Chapman's release point is blatantly an entire foot in front of that.
Not only does he throw hard, he throws close. 1 foot of distance is 3 miles an hour to the hitter's eyes. So not only on the real gun, 105, but you could almost add 3 more miles an hour to that.
There are a ton of reasons for why he throws so hard, but there's still more basic stuff I'll get into later. Throughout the early 2010s, Aroldis Chapman became one of the premier arms in baseball. He pitched a career-high 106 miles per hour in 2011, nearly even hitting Andrew McCutchen. But as a whole, he regressed with less strikeouts, more walks, and a higher ERA. A year later, in 2012, he elevated his game to a whole new level. He made his first ever appearance in the MLB All-Star Game, largely due to the fact that in the month of June, Chapman let up 0 runs and struck out 60% of the batters that he faced. He was so good that by August, ESPN wrote an article that if the season was ending then, that he should be the Cy Young Award winner. An award that hasn't been given to a closing pitcher since Dennis Eckersley in the 1980s, who I also made a video on by the way, so check that out after this one. The reason why Chapman was so deserving of this award was because he was an outlier in every one of his statistics. Out of 216 batters to face him, they only had a 127 batting average against him, the lowest number in MLB history. He also averaged almost 17 strikeouts per 9 innings, a number that no pitcher has ever done. By far, his craziest statistic was his 0.17 ERA against the National League. No, I am not kidding. Of course, he had all of September to go and didn't end up winning the award. He was, still statistically speaking, the 3rd best closer in the league. And it was this pitch against the Dodgers in the 9th inning that secured a victory with a double play, clinching the Reds a playoff spot. They finished first place in the NL Central and were automatically being sent into the divisional series. In that round, their opponent was the Giants, who had one of the top rosters in baseball. But in the 3rd inning, Cincinnati took the lead with a 3-run homer, setting the momentum on their side. Aroldis Chapman went into the 9th inning, set the Giants down, and took Game 1. He was, of course, thrilled with the win. However, after winning the first 2 games, the Reds went on to lose 3 straight, eliminating them from the postseason. As much as it was heartbreaking, the Reds found themselves back just a year later. This time, it was a tougher playoff opponent in the 94-win Pittsburgh Pirates. The Reds felt outclassed in this one after Marlon Byrd hit a homer off of Johnny Cueto, giving the Pirates a lead they never lost. Cincinnati seemingly couldn't catch a break, and this was only the beginning. Their leadoff hitter, Shin-Soo Choo, left in free agency along with 2 other important players. Chapman and the Reds were still expected to be competitive, as Sports Illustrated predicted they'd win 91 games. But in the middle of spring training, this happened.
Oh my gosh! Line drive hits Chapman in the face.
Aroldis suffered a potentially life-threatening injury in 2014 and had to be carted off of the field. The player who hit him, Salvador Perez, was devastated. The game ended up being cancelled. He was diagnosed with a mild concussion, fractured nose, and multiple fractures in his facial bones. While Chapman felt better and was awake, this was his reaction, saying, "I've been watching the video, repeating it many times, and every time that I see it, I feel really happy, because this could have been something worse." About a month later, he was called upon in the 9th inning for the first time since his injury. He struck out one guy with his 102-mile-an-hour fastball, then struck out Nolan Arenado with a rare off-speed pitch, and ended the game on a filthy 101-mile-an-hour pitch.
Aroldis Chapman.
Chapman played better in 2014 than he had the year prior. By September, he was averaging nearly 2 strikeouts an inning. By the end of the year, he had the highest strikeout percentage for a pitcher in MLB history at 52%. He struck 17.6% of his opponents out per 9 innings. He was proving to be generational, like a player we had never seen before. But his team was on a downward spiral. Chapman's time in Cincinnati was almost over, and he would soon begin a new chapter. Although, he had to play another full season with them, which wasted an entire year of talent. After 2015, the Reds planned to send Aroldis Chapman elsewhere. He had sky-high value and could be an important piece for any team. At roughly 10 a.m. on December 7th, they finally found a trade suitor in the LA Dodgers who agreed to acquire Chapman. Just when they thought the trade was going through, the worst happened. He allegedly fired 8 gunshots into the garage of his home following an argument with his girlfriend, where she told the police that he choked and pushed her against a wall. It all started when his girlfriend seemed to have found something while searching through his phone. All of this prompted 12 police officers to show up onto the scene, where no one was arrested. No charges were made due to conflicting stories and lack of cooperation from, quote, all parties involved. The only thing anybody knew for certain was that he admitted to firing the handgun. MLB handed him a 30-day suspension before he could play in 2016. Many had lost total respect for him, but he decided to seek help by going to therapy. From there, the Dodgers canceled the trade and he was going to a different team. Despite what had just happened, the New York Yankees acquired Aroldis Chapman, a shocking move that nobody expected just 3 weeks after everything. The most likely reason they took a gamble is that the evidence was lackluster throughout the entire process. In 2016, Chapman was literally unhittable. It was one of his best seasons. He had the highest strikeout percentage in baseball and had successfully saved every game as their closer other than just one. Not to mention, he had recently once again thrown a pitch at 105 miles per hour. However, by the trade deadline, the Yankees weren't a very good team. And because Chapman was so close to becoming a free agent, they traded him a few states over to play with the Chicago Cubs. There, he had an actual chance to make a deep playoff run. The Cubs had been seeking a hard-throwing lefty for months and certainly found the best one in Chapman. His first day on the job with the Cubs, he appeared in the 9th inning to close the game and won.
Cubs win as Aroldis Chapman gets his first save.
Thanks to his fastball, Aroldis quickly built a name for himself in Chicago, a legacy far different than anywhere he had been. And the Cubs were officially in the hunt for a championship. Their postseason began against the Giants. Chapman was able to help them win Game 1 and 2, but seemingly fell apart in Game 3. He walked 2 batters before putting himself in a bad situation.
Gillespie to right. Almora back. He can't get there. Belt scores. Here's Posey, and the Giants have taken the lead.
This was the only game the Cubs lost in this series, and it was all his fault. As they advanced in a round 2 against the LA Dodgers, they still continued turning to Chapman in big moments. After winning Game 1, they dropped 2 straight and won 2 straight, bringing them to a Game 6 to decide who is going to the World Series. From the very first inning, the Cubs had the momentum and the lead. In the 9th inning, with a 5-0 lead with a championship berth on the line, they turned to Aroldis Chapman. It had been 71 years since they last appeared in a World Series, and they were finally going back for the craziest series of Chapman's career.
The 2-2. Indians win game 1.
In Game 2, the Cubs took the lead with ease. In the 9th inning, Chapman came in to do his thing.
Davis 0 for 1. 0 for 2. 1 away in the 9th. To the right side, Baez down on a knee. 2 out. Chapman, ground ball to short. Addison Russell. The Cubs have evened the series.
In Game 3, it was a 1-0 lead nearly all game long. Chapman actually pitched a scoreless 9th inning for Chicago, but they lost anyway. They proceeded to drop the next game as well, putting Chapman and the Cubs just 1 game away from elimination. But Aroldis Chapman was about to be placed in the hardest, the most important, and the greatest game of his career. They were up by 1 run and needed help over the last 3 innings. He of course delivered 3 scoreless innings with dominance.
2016, struck him out! There will be a game 6. Cubs won it 3-2.
They won that game and then another. One more victory guaranteed they'd be champions, and Aroldis was being handed the ball in the 8th inning with a 2-run lead. He quickly found himself in a battle trying to get an out in a 2-2 count.
Drive into left! At the wall, it's gone! Tie game! Rajay Davis! 6-6!
This game was blown open, now tied. He later spoke about it, saying, "It was very emotional. I felt like I let my team down." An inning later, the season was on him. If he failed, the team failed. But he was able to force the game into extra innings, setting the Cubs up to potentially win.
Zobrist stands a base hit! Cubs will take the lead! Almore!
It was a lead that they never lost.
0-1. This is going to be a tough play. Bryant, the Cubs win the World Series! Bryant makes the play! It's over! And the Cubs have finally won it all!
Aroldis, 1 year after making the biggest mistake of his life, was at the top of the world. A World Series winner, 4-time All-Star, he was already more accomplished than most players will ever be. But after the season, he was free to sign with any team he wanted. He felt like there was unfinished business in New York, so he signed with the Yankees on the biggest deal for a reliever in MLB history. Similar to when they acquired him the year prior, they believed he could be the piece they needed to make it to the World Series. In 2017, the Yankees saw the breakout of slugger Aaron Judge, and young pitcher Luis Severino was now a star. Infielder Gleyber Torres was also now in the Yankees lineup, who just a year ago had been the #1 Cubs prospect and was sent over to the Yankees in the Chapman trade. Combining all of these players with Aroldis Chapman anchoring down the bullpen, it's no surprise that the Yankees were elite. When he returned to Wrigley Field for a series, he was even given his well-earned Cubs World Series ring. They ended up winning 91 games and beat down on the Twins in the wild card. Chapman was great in this postseason, giving up just 1 total run. For the 2nd consecutive year, he was back in the championship series. And while they did fall to the Houston Astros, they now had the foundation to consistently win. In 2018, Chapman proved to be the best Yankees closer since Mariano Rivera, and he could only thank his amazing fastball. But it was in 2019 that the Yankees were at their best. They were probably the most talented Yankee team of the last decade. In round 1, Chapman saved back-to-back games. And thanks to him, they had again gone beyond the divisional round straight into the ALCS. For the 2nd time in 3 years, it was the Houston Astros, a team that was more than capable of making it a tough series, and that's exactly what it was. It just felt like every time the Yankees did something good, the Astros responded even harder. At one point, the Yankees trailed the Astros 3-1 in the series, but managed to pick up a game. By Game 6, it was 3-2, and both teams had to use their bullpen for all 9 innings, simply because they ran out of starting pitching. So a closer like Chapman became even more important. By the 9th inning, it was a tie 4-4 game, 2 outs, Altuve up to bat, and just a pitch away from keeping the team alive.
Altuve has just sent the Astros to the World Series!
It was the worst moment of Chapman's career. He himself said, "At that moment when the ball went out, I couldn't believe it. No one could, and everything was about to begin unraveling." He looked more and more human as the years went on, and less like the Cuban Missile Aroldis Chapman. In 2021, he had the highest ERA of his career and was erratic when he threw his fastball. At times, it seemed he couldn't control his arm at all. Still, he was voted by the fans into the MLB All-Star Game. Over the course of 2021, he also touched 101 mile an hour over 58 different times. In 2022, the Yankees were at their best point in years, but Chapman had never been in such a bad place on the field in his life. For the first time, he was dealing with injury setbacks, a problem with his Achilles, a tattoo infection. Every month was something new, like in April and May when he had a career-high 6 walks per 9 innings, leading to blown saves. By June, after dealing with his Achilles injury, he had 6 blown saves out of 15 opportunities. The Yankees had seen enough and kicked him out of the closer role, replacing him with reliever Clay Holmes. At the very least, the Yankees were a 99-win team going into the playoffs. It seemed like Chapman would get another chance at the postseason until we got this breaking news.
Chappie will not be on the postseason roster. He was scheduled to be here Friday as part of our workout with the live. Was not, and not what I thought was an acceptable excuse, so I've had him stay away for now. He is in Miami, yeah.
His time as a Yankee was as good as over, as he was set to become a free agent. Would his career be over, or would he make something out of what may have been his final chance? Well, after playing in big market New York City with some of the loudest fans, he signed with the small market Kansas City Royals, a team that lacked talent and had a fan base not nearly as harsh as the Yankees did. Everyone began to wonder how much time he truly had left in MLB. Yes, he was hitting over 100 miles an hour, but he had no control of it at all and was 35 years old. But it didn't take long for his reputation to be restored, as he was good in 2023 despite playing on a bad team. By the trade deadline, he worked up a high trade value, which is why they sent him to the Texas Rangers. There, he could be a part of one of the best teams in baseball. The only thing this team lacked was a bullpen, ranking in the bottom 7 among all organizations. Chapman was able to bring heat and record his highest strikeout total in nearly a decade at 103. The Rangers went into the playoffs, and Chapman got action in just about every single round. In the ALCS, they went against the Houston Astros. In Game 7, with a win, they would go to the World Series. Chapman was the one trying to close the game, but accidentally hit Chas McCormick on a 104 mile an hour pitch. Obviously, he was in a ton of pain and had this bruise afterwards. So that's what happens when somebody gets hit with a pitch that fast. Anyways, after this game, the Rangers went on to the final round, where they came away with a championship, the second of Chapman's career. He went from being told that his career might be over to winning it all in just a few months. Again, he hit free agency and signed with another small market. Even though he had just won a championship, he wasn't an attractive option. His new team was the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he yet again proved the entire league wrong. Outside of struggling with his command in the first 2 months, he turned it around and was a solid pitcher on a bad team. The best example of him being a star is this at-bat with Manny Machado. He gets a swing and a miss on a 101 mile an hour fastball. He continues this battle with a strike down the middle. Machado fouls one off at 103 and then another. He had clearly not lost a step and even pitched 105 to try to get the out, and on his next pitch earned that strikeout. Aroldis Chapman was 36 years old. His velocity was strong, and he had done so much in his career. What more did he have to play for? And the truth is that he had to play for his reputation, which unfairly felt damaged due to how much he had regressed and how his time ended with the Yankees. Which is why he decided to sign with the Boston Red Sox, the Yankees' #1 rival. This deal also officially made him the highest earning reliever in league history, passing Mariano Rivera. He had a lot to prove to a Red Sox fan base that was rather skeptical of this signing. Everybody was aware about his fastball command often being wonky, and Red Sox Nation had just dealt with one older closer in Kenley Jansen who was inconsistent in the role. But Chapman acknowledged his problem, saying, "I've been working on what has been my weak point, which is just control. Having better command is something that I'm coming into this year really focusing on and working on, but I wanted to test out in games and see how it looks." To say the least, he is a brand new pitcher. As of September 10th, he has an ERA below 1, he isn't walking batters, and will likely receive Cy Young votes. He also has the best ERA among closers. It doesn't matter that he's 37 years old. He broke the Red Sox franchise record for the fastest pitch ever thrown. In 2025, due to his high velocity and extra spin, it has reduced his barrel rate percentage to 6.7 in 2025, 50% below the MLB average of 13%. As of today in MLB history, he's thrown 48% of all pitches at 103 miles an hour or higher. The craziest part about it, the one that makes no sense, is that his arm has withstood over 15,000 pitches, with his elbow getting injured just one time for 11 total days. MLB has never seen a pitcher quite like Aroldis Chapman. Thanks for watching all the way through the video. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing and turning on the post notification bell so you don't miss another video. If you liked this one, odds are you would love to learn about MLB's slowest pitcher, who also used one pitch and also destroyed everyone. Click the video on your screen right now to learn about Tim Wakefield.